I believe that the reason God created man was for management.
Really? I have never heard it put that way.
The first thing is to be honest with yourself. You can never have an impact on society if you have not changed yourself.
God will never allow growth where there is no management.
Wow, wow, wow.
So instead of praying for things from God, pray for the management ability.
Everything I tell you is true. Everything I open my mouth and I say is correct because heaven directs me on what to say. Heaven will tell me and I will tell you it will come to pass in front of your eyes. Not behind you, you will see it happening.
God will withhold things from you if you cannot manage them.
When you look at the facts that something around 1 million people perished as a result of the actions of the British and Russian and Nigerian federal governments.
Vis-a-vis what we see in Nigeria, which is truly not, it should not be surprising. Look, what's happening in Nigeria is barbarous. It's horrible. I mean, it's complete madness, yet it's not a priority. The United States unilaterally could do almost anything it needs to do. It would be a long-term effort, but it could be done. And the United States has the capability. All the elements of power, we have those.
So why not?
It's not a priority. That's the problem. We are committed elsewhere in the world. Black West Africa is not a priority.
Anybody who changes his principles depending on whom he is dealing, that is not a man who can lead a nation.
Excuse me. They can't tell me. No way. When the time comes, it's okay. What stupid country is this? So when you see you try somebody's secret, when you like, you try a secret, when you like it's in public, what stupid country is that? What stupid country is that, I ask you? When you like, you try in secret, when you like to try in private, they are killing my people. They are killing my people. They are killing They are killing my people. After killing my people, you tell me what to tell in secret? The person is mad. Completely mad. Tell Buhari, that's what I said. That he is mad. He cannot tell me. He cannot tell me. He's a madman. There's a contempt of court proceedings here. Contempt of court. They don't obey court order. They don't obey court order. You're telling me secret trial. Is the person mad?
I, Nnamdi Kanu, will sacrifice anything sacrificable to make sure that Biafra comes.
We hereby declare no election, no 2023 general election in Biafra land. This no election in Biafra land has been activated. We are going to make it a task that must be done by every Biafran. All measures will be put in place to make sure the adequate civil disobedience is implemented to stop the election in Biafra land.
know the meaning of discovery? It means to bring to light something that is buried on the ground. If you can accept that, then you know that Biafra is coming. There is nothing man can do about it. It's too late. Way, way too late. The countdown has begun.
It's a privilege to be with you again today. I want to appreciate you for always being here. I want to thank you wherever you're watching from. Today, the 5th day of April 2023. Today is actually 3 days to my birthday. My birthday is on Saturday, the 8th of April. So it's good anyways. At least it reminds me. And I want to appreciate you all for joining, wherever you're joining from. I want to thank you, Madam Adazayan. Good to have you. Good afternoon, Brakelechi Ndewo. Thank you so much, ma. Good to have you here. I want to thank you, William Tevez. Let me pronounce, we like all these Jandon names. We call it Jandon. So we like all these names. So we move. Machineke, thank you so much, my brother. Wakanwa. Okay, Wakanwa, thank you so much. Edith Nedu, good to have you here again. Good evening, Brakelechi. Thank you, courageous man. Thank you. Papa Ejima online. Oh, Papa Ejima. You are the red Tevez. Okay, this sounds Argentina. Yeah, I think that Tevez sounds an Argentine name, Good to have you. The Fact News, good to have you, my brother. Thank you so much for joining. We have our guests, they are not our guests anyway. We have, let me say, our fathers in the house. So, we're used to talking about guests when it comes to programs like this, but we have them in the house already. Of course, they're going to be coming live here soon and shortly. I want to appreciate you guys for joining. I know those who are of truth, those who are on the path of truth, are here today. I want to appreciate you guys wherever you're watching from. I know that wherever we are our conscience and everything that has to do with our focus on Biafra is alert. And of course, God is going to use us to do what we have to do to make sure that we get the freedom. I want to thank you all for joining. Wherever you're joining from, please share this on all your social media platforms so that people can join us and also watch and know the truth. My name is Kelechi Ambrose, and this is Biafra Global Network, and you're welcome. Now, let me set the pace for today before I bring, on screen our fathers to the screen. Now, we're focusing on Biafra right now because our major focus right now to get away from distractions and all of that is Biafra. And when we talk about Biafra, we're talking about the freedom of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the actualization of Biafra as a nation. And we have had this notion over time that Britain and other people are the reasons why we are still in Nigeria. But based on experience, dealings with Biafrans, and observing the things going on amongst us, I've come to understand that the major problem why Nigeria is not yet dissolved is the people. And critically, we're going to be looking at that today. Critically, very critically here today, we're going to be discussing all of this. Without wasting time, of course, we have Prince Ezem already. We're waiting for Pastor Livingstone. Prince Ezem is here already. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you, and we want to say thank you and welcome to the program. Please say hello to everyone.
I want to first of all recognize Chukwu Abiyama, the creator, the maker of all things, our God, whose air we breathe, who alone owns and sustains us, and who has allowed us to come today to give this hallowed message of salvation unto man. Not the same salvation that Christ paid for all men, but you see, in every location, God springs up people. God will always raise people, especially people who are held down. God raised people to bring salvation to that location. The location that Christ gave us is for all humanity. But God has allowed us to come to do the needful, and we want to give God all the glory. So I welcome you all, fellow Biafrans, and people of good conscience around the world. Thank you for being here, and may we speak in accordance with that God has placed in our hearts to say, not things that we prefer to say as mortal beings. In Yeshua's name I pray.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate you as always, your contributions to Biafra and making sure that we are sensitized, and at the same time we are contesting with truth, transparency, and justice, and making sure that we do the right thing. And the most gift we can give to humanity is to implant in the minds of the people what would guarantee their future and their existence. I want to thank you for that. Basically, we're looking at Biafra and why Nigeria get dissolved. Please, I want you to, from your own point of view, let's look at it. We're talking about Nigeria. We know what Nigeria represents. Now we're talking about dissolution. Nigeria, the word dissolution. Now, why is dissolution becoming a very scarce word in bringing down Nigeria as at this time?
The reason is very simple. First of all, people needed to understand that Nigeria is a poisoned chalice. It's been poisoned to a level where abnormalities seem to be normal. People now subscribe to criminality as a way of life. It was structured to be that way. I've kept saying it. Nigeria is poisoned and designed to a level where malfunction will become the order of the day. That means it's going to become regular, it's going to be persistent, it's going to be progressive, and it's going to be permanent so long as that structure remains. That is what it is. Now, why it seemed now that dissolution have become impossible from the human perspective is simply because, let's bring it to the Igbo people, let's bring it to Biafrans. It's become impossible because the people you think would one day crave for freedom, the people you believe would one day want to dissolve it, are the real people who are creating the evil systems and supporting the evil system and don't want to see any change. These are, and let me mention them to you so we all know. I've said it before, anything you don't understand, anything you don't know, you can't deal with. And that's why we are saying this. These are your average businessman and businesswoman that is Igbo, that is Biafran. Okay? These are your religious leaders who are feeding from the poisonous chalice called Nigeria. These are your various leaders in low and high places. These are your politicians. They will never, because that whole notion, that whole adage that says that people are happier with the devil they have gotten accustomed to. Okay, they are happier with the devil that they are used to than the angel that they don't know. That is what is applicable here. These are the true agents that the Fulani and the British have used to hold you down. But somehow people, the average men and women, children in Igbo land, in Biafra, are hoping that one day these people will save them without knowing that these are the real cancers that are holding them to ransom. That's why today we want to, because once you identify a problem, you found the solution. Today, I'm calling on the average Igbo person. I'm calling on the average Biafran to rise and know that your freedom is in your hands. You have to go out there and get it. They will never give it to you on a platter of gold. They will never give it to you. They will never. Don't go and dream dreams about it. I listened to a particular song that says, follow who know road. Listening to people. Don't follow the deceivers. Don't follow the scammers. Don't follow those who will tell you 150 days and we are still counting. Don't follow those who will tell you Obi is going to stop in November and Obi is still going. Don't follow those who tell you they have something on the ground to stop election. Election had come and gone. Don't follow those who would start analyzing just for analyzing's sake, with no, just waiting for a gamble. Forget all that. Pay attention and follow who know road. Nnamdi Kanu has already told you that Biafra is here, okay? The only reason why you haven't seen it manifest is because the real truthful people that God wants to use to bring about Biafra are either still planning or they haven't yet emerged. That's why. So about that wait, I can assure you, you're not going to wait for too long, because the truthful people that will go and pull out Biafra, okay, they are around the corner. And the God will never withdraw the promise of Biafra until those people come. And when you come and you mess up, God will kick you to the side, waiting for the next person, the next people who understand that Biafra freedom can only be based on the truth, can only be based on transparency, honesty, and it's going to be the very few, because God wants to do his miracle. God wants to make impossibility become possibility, so that all glory will belong to him and him alone, not to man. God will never work with anybody who wants to tell you they are the emperor. They are the ones that is going that they will bring it themselves. No. God is a jealous God. Okay? Jealous to the extent that he will never allow his glory to be stolen by any man. So whenever you declare yourself as the one who is going to get Biafra, that is the day you fail. Okay? The coming of Biafra will surprise even those that are used to obtain Biafra, so that all glory will belong to God. And the blessing will be ours as mortal beings that will benefit from the light that will spring up from Biafra for the entire humanity. So I hope I've managed to tell you the system, the evil system operational in Nigeria. And I've also told you why the solution is difficult, because of those that are close to your doors, those that are the custodians of the gate, that are holding you hostage. You think they belong to you, but they are the ones holding you down. They are the ones holding you down. And I've made numerous submissions here, even to the extent of those you call your law enforcement agencies. They are all occupying forces. They don't work for you. They're working for something else. Okay, your army, your armed forces, all of them, your law enforcement agencies, these are all occupying forces arranged by the most wicked, the most racist, the most inhumane, the most unhuman people on earth, to kidnap, to arrest the soul of man, to kill and destroy human ingenuity. That's their ambition. Nigeria is so evil, it is not even conducive for animal kingdom. Nigeria is not fit for animal kingdom, let alone humanity. But I tell you something, God has destined Biafra to come. All God is waiting for are the pure in heart people who are dedicated, selfless, totally committed, with honesty and transparency, that God would use to get Biafra. I thank you.
Thank you so much. You've streamlined this to the fact that the dissolution of Nigeria begins with Biafra, which means Biafra is the cynosure to the end of Nigeria. Now, before I just want to say something critically that takes us to something else, because now that we are looking at Biafra as the only, calculation to the end of Nigeria, and when it is rightly, applied, then we have to look critically on Biafra. Now, I want to thank Edith Nedu. She's the first person to tell me a happy birthday. So, Edith Nedu, thank you so much. I appreciate you. In fact, this is a special day.
We all have our birthdays in April. So, okay, after yours, mine will be 22nd.
Wow.
Mine will be 22nd.
Wow. April is a special month.
Yeah, I hear that is the only month when legends are born.
Of course, yes.
I don't know about other months. Yes, I know about this one.
Of course. So 8 is mine. Yours is 22nd. Wow, great. We know that it's for good. Now we are looking at Nigeria, and we're looking at Biafra as a sign-on to the end of this contraption. Now there's something that Pejima has posted here. No security in Biafra land, but Simon Ekpa. I don't want I don't want to talk about Simon Ekpa today, but there's no way we're going to refer to some stuff because we're expecting people to understand that front page says Mazi Kennedy says the legends are born in February. Who told you, Mazi Kennedy? No legend is born on February. February people help to complement April, born, because April born are the people who are actually. I'm sorry. I just remembered Mrs. Tadaza, and I'm sorry. I just remembered on screen where as soon as I began that my birthday is in 3 days. I had never said it. I just remembered. It just came when I was trying to say the date of today. I just remembered it's in 3 days. That's 8. So I'm sorry. I would have said it before now. So I'm really sorry. Sometimes so many things that have to do with Biafra, occupying the minds, of people, and then before you know it, we are not. We are talking about some other things. So that's it. Now we are saying, she said geniuses are born in May. I don't know why you guys are so jealous of April born. You can't beat that. We are the beginning. Go to the Hebrew calendar. We are the beginning. Oh my. All right. February. All right. No. You can be. April is it. Thank you so much. Now, Prince, I want you to look at this, because now we are looking at the dissolution of Nigeria, and we're looking at the impossibilities. What are those things that that makes it look like it is impossible? Because when you talk about Nigeria, you are looking at Britain, a product of Britain. When you talk about Biafra, you are looking at a nation of people who are indigenous, but overwhelmed by that product of Britain. Now, if you look at it critically, we'll understand that Biafra has what it takes, based on the fact that they are indigenous, have what it takes to deal with this matter and this issue of having their independence and being on their own, helping to save other Nigeria nation, the state or nations under Nigeria, and at the same time free those all over Africa, in the world. But yet it seems like there is this, because you have given so many points anyways, but I want to streamline it to this now. Are we going to say that the difficulty we encounter is because Nigeria is a product of Britain, and so since it is British, it cannot be dissolved? Or are we going to say that the people, the Biafrans, are not ready to deal with that Nigeria product, or that British product called Nigeria?
Well, I'll say it's a combination of both. Okay. In the spiritual realm.
Percentage. Let's look at it, the percentage now. Give us the percentage. Biafra, Nigeria, the percentage. What do you think?
If it's percentage, I would say British angle. That British angle is Fulani angles. Will take, I would say they will take, I'll say 35%. But Biafrans will take obviously 65%. Okay. Now, why I say that is because the primary is usually more substantial than the secondary. Okay, the primary is always more substantial because without the primary, there is no secondary, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Britain and Fulani will always remain secondary. Biafra is primary. Okay. When it comes to autonomy, which I know very well from source, that is what God gifted each man. Okay. Nobody actually can take your autonomy away without you playing a part or playing a role in it. And I keep going back to history when people talk about slavery and all the rest. As evil as the slave masters, in quote, are, the more evil were our people. Because I keep saying to humanity, let us be frank. How many were there that came over from Europe, from Arabia, to annex Africans? There were very few, very few. There were no jumbo jets. There were no massive ship carrying. These people came with little canoe, little, you know, how many of them? But the thing is that they were able to, Africans allow themselves to be corrupt to the extent of allowing themselves to be bribed to sell their own. I keep reminding every African that it wasn't actually Europeans that were responsible for catching those slaves and putting them in chains. It was our own people who sold their souls to ordinary sweet, all of our thing they were bringing from Europe. Okay? And the thing is still happening today. Today. All these, in fact, look at the religious leaders. Now, let me tell you that forget the only reason why people think it is only the politicians doing harm to our pursuit of total freedom is because the politicians have got access to men in the uniform. These are so-called occupying forces that they use to subdue the people. Okay, they're able to carry gun and all the rest to intimidate the people. But I am telling you that religious leaders are doing more damage than the politicians. The only difference is that they don't have people carrying gun and in uniform. Okay?
Yes.
I need people to know that all these religious leaders, okay, they hate the idea, especially all these whether they are called bishops, archbishops. They don't want to hear about Biafra. Why? Because their stomach needs are being fulfilled by a structure that they are so used to, where they are worshipped, where they have no physical needs in terms of anything money can buy, where, you know, people negate God to worship them, and they are going along with that without knowing that they are being idolaters. Because idolatry is not just one who worships a fellow man, but it's also a man who accepts the worship of another man without directing that man to God, who alone ought to be worshipped. So these so-called archbishops and all these, they don't want, in fact, because they don't even know what your Biafra would give them. They don't know whether it is going to change the dynamics. And they are so comfortable where they are. In fact, ordinary clergy, okay, who is in charge of a parish, so happy with what is getting in the parish that they don't want you to change the status quo. They don't know what it will bring about tomorrow. So when people really step back and see the level of, you know, wheels and knots that are used to tie people down, not to talk of our average business people who may have built a house in Lagos or whatever, their souls are tied to these houses. Now, when you're talking about Biafra, they don't even know what Biafra means in relation to the houses they built. They are prepared to die for the houses than you're talking about Biafra.
Mm.
So, but then the problem then comes down to the ordinary man and woman on the street. These ones have folded their arms, believing that the problem of getting Biafra is not actually theirs. They believe it is going to be these clergymen, these business people that have money, these politicians, these so-called leaders. Okay, they are hoping. They haven't even analyzed it to a point where they understand that the people they are waiting on are the ones holding them down, and they don't want to see any change. Can you see the mix? Why? No, I don't think they've even understood it to this level. Why it is seeming an impossibility, okay? But because we've understood it, we first of all want people to understand it too. And we want to build mechanisms in place to counter this.
That's right.
You see, and that's what God does. You see, when God wants to use the few, and if the few are willing, okay, God will unlock wisdom and open all the nooks and crannies so they know how these knots are tied. Okay, that's what God does with the few. Okay, and suddenly you will see that these knots are being loosened, because you see, from the time after that civil war, Fulani and the British people, through the advice of Britain, began now to divide all the places. Yeah, if you go and count the number of autonomous communities you have in only Imo State, you will scream your head off. And you know, each time they divide, immediately there is enmity. Immediately, okay, it's automatic. It's automatic.
Correct.
Okay, you know, when we used to be East Central State, I mean, you can walk anywhere. No, but there was no issue of, oh no, you're from Imo State, or you're from Anambra, or you're from that. No. As soon as they divide, okay, go to your autonomous community and see what I'm saying. As soon as they split, and then you have this Eze there and you have this Eze, they are in enmity immediately. The same thing is happening in the religious front. It used to be one Owerri diocese, I know that for sure, but today I don't know whether they're up to 15, and majority of these bishops, they don't see eye to eye. I am telling you, if you allow them, they will come to blows. Okay, this is how bad. Okay, so they use this divide and destroy, not just conquer, divide and destroy approach. But let me be very frank with you. What God wants to do now will surprise the world. Okay, you see, because these people have always found a way to penetrate and destroy whatever you're planning, so long as you are planning to take the glory. Whenever you plan to take the glory, yeah, you find that there is gaping hole for all these evil to enter you, all these demons to enter you, all these devils to enter you. Once you are charging forward, believing that you are the one, you can do it. I mean, before you knew it, we had Boris Johnson. What's his name? Farage, Nigel Farage, in one man who says he is 50 out of 100. Before you know it, we had somebody who is trying to put his name on the record of one that freed Africa. Before you know it, we had one who wants to be in Biafran currency. Before you know it, you had one who now wants to tell God that he is the one who is going to bring about Biafra. You don't do that in something God is propelling. You're almost saying to God, you are all powerful and you can do it. Can you imagine David saying to God on the day that he was about to meet up with Goliath, God, it is me, David, and is going to do this. I'm going to prove to the world that I did it. Can you imagine how stupid David would have been? And of course, Goliath would have just come and take him with his sling and squeeze them and wrap them up. I don't know why people say they are walking in accordance to God's will, but they they have no knowledge of God. I don't know why. And that's why I struggle so much. You look at the things you want to set up, and you're hearing people who you're saying, look, this is how we want to work. This is how we want to do things. This is how, and you see people going against the principles of what is being planned. And when you decide on what to do to those individuals going against, you are hearing, oh, peace, God, oh, let's work together, let's do this, and I'm saying, these people, do they really understand the God they're talking about? That God actually dismissed Satan, not because of what Satan did, but the intention of Satan. Okay? Here we're talking about not just intention, but the action of people. And people that want to refer to God as the reason why people should forgive and forget. And you hear things like, oh, we are about to start, we are just starting. It is when you are starting that you are at your most careful. Starting means you're laying a foundation. You must make sure that the foundation you lay is so solid that no matter what you build on it, it will carry it. At that starting point is when you weed out anything that will destroy your foundation.
Now you're taking me to my next question, because we want to go to the foundation, because that is basically of what we are going to be talking about right now. Talking about why Nigeria has not been dissolved. It takes us to the foundation, and because every product that comes to maturity, whether a tree, whatever it is, had a foundation or the basis of the chemicals or the chemical components or whatever that makes that product what it is. So if Biafra then would actually dissolve Nigeria, there's a kind of formation, there's a kind of foundation that determines if we are on the right path or we are going down somewhere else. Now, before going on, I'm just going to look at some comments here. Adazayan says that was the sole purpose of state creation, to create enmity amongst Igbos and the entire former Eastern Nigeria foundation. We're still talking about the foundation also, of British style. Sorry, Akwanwa, thank you so much for your happy birthday. I hope my super chat, you people are preparing my super chat, according to Simon. Super chat, I am ready for super chat. So somebody said here, okay, let me read the message of Ifeanyi. Ifeanyi says, thank you, Kelechi, Prince, Livingstone, and Ife for lifting the standard of Biafra struggle in truth and good conscience. Thank you so much, Ifeanyi. Thank you so much for that.
Don't be surprised that somebody is going to cut out the portion where you said, send me super chat. and they won't deal with the whole contest.
Of course.
And then move with it. And say, oh, that is why he has gone. He's gone to create super chat.
They say he's asking for super chat now. Oh, Lord have mercy. Now, let's go to the foundation thing. Now, before we go on foundation, now, you gave us the general knowledge of what will propel and give us Biafra. That is God, because he is the driver of this thing. Now, as God is there, overseeing this thing. Now, when it comes to our operation, God moves with what we do, with what he gives us. That means the purpose he commits into our hands, he expects us to run. And if we refuse to run, we're going to delay the purpose from manifesting. And at the same time, God will take us off and other people will still come in. The purpose of God remains, but the people, those to execute it, can be changed over time. That's what it means. Can be, replaced based on their conformity to obedience. That's why God told Samuel to obey is better than sacrificing. And so obedience is important to getting along with what God has to do. Now, you talked about 35% Britain and 65% the Biafrans themselves. Now, sometimes the percentage might not determine the what word do I use now? Might not determine the influence. What I mean by this is this. Maybe 35% can have more influence than 65%, because 65% has actually embraced the concept of 35%. So 55% becomes dragged down and pulled because 35% has an influence over 65%. Now, on that, we now look at the attitude of Biafrans and how they have been able to understand their foundation, or the foundation of Biafrans, based on the fact that they have actually held on to the 35% rather than understanding who they are and giving up on the 35% to understand that their 65% can be improved on to cause the downfall of that 35%. I want you to give us a better picture on this.
You are very, very correct, because in the principles of mathematics, even zero becomes so powerful, zero in itself. Yeah. And if you think zero is not powerful, divide it with something. Divide it with what? Divide it with 1 million.
Yes.
Do you get my point?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, if you think zero is not powerful, go and divide it with 1 billion and see what happens. So, what is critical here is this: is that, in fact, you summarized it in the end. It's about Biafrans understanding who they are, understanding where they are at, understanding the various factors at play, in order to do the needful to pull down this 35% that might actually be more powerful. Because it's not about how many you are, it's how coordinated you are. So and you were going around the issue of foundation. Now, when you look at various foundations, for example, the foundation that is laid for Nigeria, you can see how poisonous it is and what the fruit it has borne through that foundation. Because foundation is the source of everything. That's why we say, if you take a mango fruit, okay, it doesn't matter where you go and plant it, it will produce mango, because at the root, at the base is mango.
That's right.
And when we refer to foundation, we are talking about everything to do with our source, our originality. From the time we allowed foreigners to come and give us a name and severed us from our roots, because what that meant was that our own identity and that of our ancestors became different. That's what it means. You are severed from what you are meant to be. Because as far as I know, naming is something that is given to one who owns something. Okay, we name our children. We name our dogs. Dogs will not take a name from a foreigner. So for us to have allowed foreigners to come and put you all together and you answer a name, that means whenever these people call, you will answer. That is why Katrina Lang was the only ambassador who was actively working for INEC and telling citizens of so-called Nigeria, because Nigeria she saw Nigeria as belonging to her. People need to understand this. And even the Nigerians themselves did not see anything wrong in what she was doing, because they are her own. Otherwise, I have never seen anywhere in the world where an ambassador, I couldn't see the ambassador of Nigeria to America coming during election to tell American citizens to go and get their PVC and go and vote, that their vote will count. It's not part of our remit, only because she believes she owns the name Nigeria, and everything Nigeria belongs to her. People need to understand all these things. They are spiritual. They are spiritual. They manifest physically. You can't, you look, until you get to know who you are, you won't know how upset you should be in trying to get this nonsense stopped, okay? And when you understand it, God, the owner of the truth, will know that you have captured the truth. That's God will give you the seeds and also will give you the soil to go and cultivate a root through which you come out of this nonsense. But the job to take those seeds and cultivate them into the soil is yours. So we have work to do in this process. God will not come physically to take that sling that he allowed David to have. God won't come physically to do it, but God will equip you so you can go and do the needful, and God will do the rest. People need to understand these things. These are spiritual principles. You cannot go, you can't wriggle yourself out of it. Let me be very frank, and I rest it here. People need to understand that we are not giving will for no reason. Okay? God gifted us our will for a purpose. That means there is work for us to do. That means God wants to work in partnership with us. That means God will not do his own and then come and do your own. God will not defile the will he has given you and me. That's why we must take it upon ourselves to go and do our part and allow God to complete it, and then we give God all the glory and take the blessings. God, as well as God is a propellant of division of labor and partnership, God also shares the whole thing. God will take the glory and allow you to have the blessing. So people need to understand these things. I thank you, because I see Pastor Livingston. I'm quite sure he's aching to.
Yes, well, you said you said so many things. And before Pastor comes in, because I want him to also come in from that light, in that light, sorry, and give us his perspective to that.
I'm enjoying the lectures. I'm enjoying the lecture, please.
Oh Lord, have mercy. Now, there's somebody here, Adams. I just want to give him a brief, because he's trying to say some stuff. He's making some sense here, anyways. Adams Iyanda. I want to assure you that we are not just talking about problems and situations. As much as we discover the problems, we solve them. So we are working very effectively and putting things on ground that is going to be structurally beneficial to the successful restoration of Biafra. So as you see us talk, we are not just talkers, we are doers. We are working with Biafrans all over the world, including you, if you have what it takes to be part of this movement for the new dimension for the freedom. That's why we're looking at why Nigeria is not dissolved, because from knowing why Nigeria is not dissolved, we get the solutions. So Prince, you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry, I think I saw something here that says, please stop calling God's name, God, fire, or whatever. Now, let me warn everybody.
That person is always constituting here.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I may not even be talking to him. I'm talking to others who might learn from it.
Okay.
We know very well that the scripture has already told us that it's only the fool who says there is no God.
Exactly.
Right.
Those are
lunatics. Thank you. The only person who will say there is no God, and I will agree with them, is the person who can tell me who owns the ground upon which they stand.
Exactly.
Yeah, who brought about the ground where we all came from. You see, one thing people don't know is that everything came from the ground, including us. That's why a baby does not return back to her mother's womb, but returns to the soil, because that's where we originally came from. It doesn't matter how high an aircraft flies. Everything about that aircraft came from the soil, and that aircraft must return to the soil. It doesn't matter how high a skyscraper is. Everything about that skyscraper came from the soil, and the day will come when it will return back to the soil. It doesn't matter how a baby comes from the womb. The baby does not return back to the womb, but must return to the soil, because that's where we originally came from. Go and tell that idiot that says that there is no God. Tell him to come and tell us where the seed that he cultivates came from, whether he brought it when he came out of the womb, or whether he owns or introduced the soil in which we cultivate. If he can tell me all those, then we can have a discussion. I think.
Thank you so much, Pastor. We want you to come in here, but before you come in, I want to say, Ifeanyi says, I have to acknowledge those who are wishing me happy birthday here, and for those who would cut where I said send your super chat, you are free to cut and go and give to those who would look for blackmail and all of that. Ifeanyi says, happy Many happy returns on your birthday, Kelechi. You shall live to see longevity. Thank you so much, my brother. I say prayers.
Amen.
Say thank you so much. Pastor, please, you can come in from that point. We are looking at these facts that are holding us from dissolving Nigeria. And we are looking at the British side of it, which of course they are the owners of Nigeria. We're also looking at us, the indigenous people, and our total approach to this whole thing. What do you think about this?
Yeah, you've already given the answer. And Prince was saying it. Thank you very much for having me. Prince, let me go back to numbers. If you take away 0, I like that analogy. Do you know, Prince, it's not even division. If you write 1000, that's 1,000, and take away 10 from the 3 zeros, what you have is 100. So if you think 0 is nothing, it's a big deal. I'm telling you, where you have 1 million of 6 zeros, you remove 1, it is 100,000. It is devalued by 10 immediately, so it's a big deal.
Right. That's right.
So, and Prince, you made reference to we returning to the ground. It's the truth, you know. Everything starts from the ground, ends there. The man that was made by God. So the only one that goes to heaven is somebody that is born of the Spirit. Now that you are born again, when the physical body goes to the ground, God rejuvenates the body and gives it a glorified body that is born from above. You go back to meet Him. So you are very, very correct. Sounds
and you know why? Because that spirit is one that belongs to God.
To God, exactly.
The body is made out of the soil. So it must go back to the soil.
Yeah, so it's the spirit that a man became a living soul. So that guy is an idiot when he's talking. You know, if you don't talk about God, what else do you talk about?
I wonder.
Who made him? Who made the universe? He's an idiot.
How can you talk about Biafra talking about God?
Yeah. You know, when they just come into the platform, they come with their stupid, useless ideas. That is as a result of mental disorder.
That's what Nigeria has done to them.
A total psychosomatic disorder. They need to go through a psychiatric hospital for intensive care unit, intensive care programs. And when Biafra comes, I think you should head that unit so that such deluded fellows will undergo some kind of. Thank you so much. So let me get to what Kelechi asked. You see, for you to get Nigeria, you said it, first of all, why Nigeria is not coming yet is because it is in 2 ways. From the British people, they see it as a business enterprise. From the Nigerian situation, the people don't seem to understand that they are a people that are entitled to, they are making decisions that pertains to them. Which direction will they go as a people and be free? So where the Nigerians just see themselves as workers of a British business enterprise, who were giving certain leverages to answer a people without really understanding that they really are a people, they will remain grateful to the enterprise that employed them and kept them there and will remain slaves forever. Because as far as Britain is concerned, Nigeria is not a nation. And the inability of Nigerians to understand that this is very, very offensive for you to come out from nowhere and tell me that I'm just a product of your enterprise. I don't have a right to my self-determination. It means I'm lost. But when I come to realizing that I become so angry with you that I want to break away and see how I can put my hand around your neck and wring it so that you stop being a problem to me for life. So first of all, let's come to realization. Who are we? Is Nigeria a nation? No. How was it formed? By us collectively? No. Who brought about it? A foreigner? Yes. Is it acceptable? No. Once we understand ourselves, that there was a priest was giving an analogy, said, even a dog that is given a name only responds to the owner who gave him that name. If somebody else calls him that name, the dog will be aggressive. Now, Nigeria responds to Britain because Britain gave them the name Nigeria. So that dog doesn't know itself for any name that it has, except the name it was given when it was born as a puppy. They called him Bingo. He answers Bingo, and that's his name. But if a man understands that the man who is giving me a name is a fellow human being like me, got from the dust, living in this temporal world, has no hand in the way by which he came and by the way which I came, and has no authority to dictate to me the kind of name I will answer. When I realize that, then I'll tell that man he's insane to assume that he can give me a name and expect me to listen to him.
Absolutely.
When I come to that understanding, I remain in bondage. And
you're not human. You're not human.
I'm not a human being again. I'm an animal.
No, you're sub animal.
I'm just a being, according to, a being. There's a difference between a human being and a being, because there are beings that exist that are not human. So you are just existing in this transient life.
Yes.
You don't know where you are coming from. You don't know where you are going. So you are an idiot. You are subhuman. You are not a human being.
You have to know why you are here. Sub animal, yes, please.
So because until I understand that I'm a human being, I have the capacity to think for myself and determine where I am coming from, where I am, where I'm going. I remain subservient to you who tries to superimpose your will upon me, because I don't want to filter out the information I'm getting from you very well. I just flow into your direction. I remain subhuman. And if you classify me as subhuman, you are not wrong, because I've deliberately decided to see myself as a subhuman being. I am not qualified to sit on the same table with you. That's why I'm not in bondage and an idiot forever.
Sub-animal, please. Sub-animal.
Yes, sub-animal. So Nigeria can never come to understanding until they wake up from the sleep and know that they have to be free from this fixated mental state of being classified as idiots. And we have willfully accepted to be called idiots and sub-animals. Until we wake up from that slumber, in the next 60 years we remain like this.
Only 60 years?
Remain like this. And like I told you, one of the biggest challenge to freedom is when the man that is in bondage loves his being in bondage and loves his master. Whatever stipends that are given to him, he's very grateful to receive crumbs that come from the table. Even if the main course on that table comes from his land, his ignorance or willful decision to be an idiot, a sub-animal, to be subservient to this man. But the moment he comes to his senses, the Bible says, a man that is in honor and does not know it is like a beast that perisheth. Yes. God has created you to be a human being. It's an honor above other animals, other things that were created. Then another human comes along the line and makes you a subhuman, reduces you to a sub-animal, and you accept it. You don't know you are in honor. You're like a beast that is perishing. You can be used anytime like a donkey to do work in the mines, and the ground will collapse on you in the mine and you will die. You can be used as a slave, not understanding that you have a wife and children. So in your very presence, your slave master can come and take your wife and sleep with her. Use your children as slaves. You don't, because you are a beast that is perishing. You are in honor, you don't know it until you rise up and be counted. You remain abandoned in the backyard of history as slaves that should be in the marshes planting the rice. When it is time for harvest, they'll harvest and give it to the master to eat. When the master has finished eating, the crumbs that comes out from the plate, they bring it to the swamp. You are never to leave the swamp. Remember, you're a sub-animal. Stay there and be eating crumbs. That's the problem with Nigeria. I'm just talking round and round. I don't want to point directly. People that have brains, they should understand what we're talking. Prince is used to talking in parables. He talks, bring it. If you don't use your brain well, you cannot coordinate or come in line with what he's saying. So that's the problem with Nigeria.
Yes, I totally agree. I hope you haven't forgotten that.
Prince, before you come in, as you were just talking, something just came into my mind, as Pastor was just talking. I don't know why he doesn't have his face cap here yet. I don't know what's going on.
Oh! Well, have you seen my t-shirt?
Yeah, I've seen the t-shirt. Proudly Igbo. That's good.
Yes. And I've been seeing this one.
Proudly Igbo. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I put it on. I don't want to
because I mean, it's an issue of identity. You got
exactly.
Trust me. If you don't hold your identity and have your base, that's the foundation. If you don't have it,
trust me.
you can float. I'm only joking anyway. Don't worry. Whenever you have a thing, yeah, but you see,
Yes.
it's not this issue of madness in Nigeria. Don't forget that the same madness is even worse with Britain and European countries. I hope you know that the whole problem here is this issue of the narrative that some people are God, some people are higher animals, some people are animals,
Exactly.
or basically animals. And it was from these angles that people began to lay emphasis and began to worship what they call natural resources. The Europeans, Britain, they don't even know that God created man. And it is in the human resources that the natural resources are uncovered. Because without the human resources, there is nothing called natural resources.
Or discovery,
Now,
whatever.
so these people began to worship the things God created for the good of humanity, things God created and put underneath us, things God created for our use, things God created to serve us, not to become masters of us. The Europeans began to worship these things, okay? And before you know it, the Africans became idolatrous to those things that man made. Now, watch this. Europeans worship crude oil, gas, and all these things you call natural resources that came from man, that man discovered, man gave name, man gave meaning, man gave names, man gave value. Europeans worshipped these things. Africans, Nigerians became worshippers of money, particularly money, and everything that man made to make man comfortable. Things that are supposed to be worshipped, serving man, Africans began to worship them. You know that we have a gentleman today who believed that he could lead us to Biafra. But as soon as money became the issue, his soul and the devil went in big time and occupied his mind. Okay? As soon as Nigeria noticed that he needed money, he was desperate for money. Nigeria introduced the biggest of the devils that entered him and kidnapped his soul. Since then, he's gone mad. In fact, he is now doing things that he was condemning others of doing. He's doing more of those things. Now, you see, the worship of money, the worship of anything created by God, let alone things that are made by man out of what God created. Oh my God, it turns God away, especially when you are his chosen people. God, the jealous God who gave us that first commandment. That's a reason for making it number one commandment.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you become crazy. You would become crazy without, of course, you're not meant to know you're crazy, otherwise you're not crazy. So you see, yes, you're not meant to know. But those of us who are watching on the sidelines can see the madness. And
Yes,
we could be the one feeling the shame that ought to occupy your soul, but we're the ones feeling the shame. When everything you condemned others for, you are now championing. You become the vehicle through which people are even suspended from their indigenous identity. Suddenly, you are now sacked from being Biafran. You are no longer IPOB. Suddenly, you are sacked from becoming autopilot, when autopilot is what Britain is doing. Suddenly, you are sacked from, you're sacked from your paid job I don't know how many of you that your salaries have stopped. I hear people have been suspended from their work. Have you all stopped receiving salary from autopilot or what? In fact, somehow I've lost the meaning of suspension. Why do we have the uneducated occupying a position they are not meant to be? That means they don't understand the meaning of the words they are using. Or is this child's play? I thought when people are suspended, their salaries are withdrawn.
No, the person who was suspended and his salary withdrawn should be Kelechi. You know, he was suspended from the.
Okay.
I think from the.
Okay.
Advisory committee. So whatever salaries he was being paid.
I think he needs to write a letter for reinstatement. So his salary will start coming back.
No, he can forget it. What he needs is he should be paid his allowances or his gratuities or his pension. You know all those things that involved.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, in saying this, I'm just trying to highlight some of those reasons why Nigeria seemed an impossibility, because people are trying to pursue freedom with the wrong footing, lying to themselves, playing games with the whole thing, thinking it will come through gamble, whilst worshiping the things God abhors. You can't get Biafra from there. And when you are acting that way, you are giving credence to Nigeria. And you are actually becoming an anchor to Nigeria. You're facilitating Nigeria. The only time you dismantle and help in dismantling Nigeria is when you are honest, when you're truthful, when you know who you are, when you know what you are in pursuit of, when you are dedicated to the freedom of man. That is the only time when God will come into play with you and you see Biafra emerging. Look, we have suffered this shame enough. We've suffered this shame enough. I've watched the Archbishop of Canterbury pretending and playing a game and trying to con Biafrans and con Nigerians to remain the same so he can keep drinking gas and crude oil. I've seen all this craft, and we must end it. We can't carry on like this. We can't continue to subscribe to this madness and play along with it. Because what that means is that you are agreeing that indeed you are sub-animal. You can't think for yourself. You can't reason things out. You can't go forth and take your freedom. Nobody is going to give you freedom whilst you're seated there. It's impossible. You must go and demand it and tell those keeping it how stupid and how hopeless they are. You have to demand it because you want to take it so that you can rescue they themselves. Because these people are crazy.
Information, please, if I may comment.
Yeah, Pastor, before you come in, I want you to also to answer this question as you come in. You know, what is the role, or what are the roles we are playing to see that Nigeria is not dissolved? The roles we are generally playing from the perspective of Biafra, the roles we are playing.
Okay, to see that Nigeria is not dissolved.
Yes.
Yeah, it is when we walk contrary to the role we are supposed to play, while in the very corridor where we are supposed to play that role. Now, we are supposed to play a role whereby we sensitize Biafrans to understand what we should do. If we have to take a look at what Nnamdi Kanu said, and all the while that he has been preaching and talking and the actions he has taken so far, if we begin to walk at variance with what he said, while staying in the same place where we're supposed to be and practice what he said, then in a way there's a deception that we are carrying out that is putting Biafrans into confusion while thinking that we're giving them a direction. Okay. Let me give you a classical example. If Nnamdi Kanu said that The political solution can never be sought for the actualization of Biafra, which is the disintegration of Nigeria. He meant that one, it involves not going to discuss with Britain to give you an idea on how you get Biafra. That is what it means, not going to discuss with them. Because if you are going to discuss with them, they will never toe the path which those who want freedom normally toe. They will never allow you to toe it. For example, the Americans wanted freedom. They fought with Britain in a bloody war. They sensitized the people into coming to realization that their main enemy is Britain. And they made the people to know that there must be need for them to come as one collectively to fight a common battle without compromise. And then number 4, any person that is an agent of the British that is in their midst should either be told to leave or he be expunged by force, expurgated with all amount of seriousness, expeditiously. So, where a Biafran looks at a Nigerian that is advocating for the unity of Nigeria, and you are a Biafran advocating for the disintegration of Nigeria, and you bring the Nigerian who advocates for the unity, puts very close to you to make decisions that are against Nigeria, knowing fully well that the person is a Nigerian agent. That is how not to get Biafra, how not to disintegrate Nigeria, because the person is standing clearly with the intention to advocate the unity of Nigeria to continue. And while the person is advocating, he or she is fighting everything he or she will do to frustrate your plans to disintegrate Nigeria by giving every information you have to the Nigerians. That's number 1. Number 2, by trying to support your program courtesy of the funding from Nigeria, which you so desperately need to carry out your project. And in the process, you are roped or boxed into a corner whereby the person has your information, that while you are fighting for Biafra, she is fighting against Biafra, and you are expecting her to stay with you to fight against Nigeria. It's not going to work. And any comment she makes will discredit you. So in the process, you find yourself roped into a situation where you have to buy the person's idea, at least to keep afloat, and then deceiving the gullible people that follow you that all is well. But eventually, it will not end in that El Dorado. It will end inside the abyss, where you decide you succeed in deceiving everybody. It would have been too late to turn the hands of the clock back. That is how not to fight for Biafra. When you bring the enemy into your camp and make him part of the decision-making process of your fight for freedom, you will not get it. Nigeria will not disintegrate. That's what I'm so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Before you go, because we're still going to have more from you, I want Prince also to tell us what's your own, from your own point of view, what strategy would you adopt as a freedom fighter that would energize Nigeria?
Well, what energizes Nigeria clearly is anything that sabotages freedom. Anything, it doesn't matter which form it takes, but majority of the forms that it takes revolve around the worship of money, the worship of an individual, negating God. Once you subscribe to worshiping your fellow transient, limited, imperfect mortal being, once you subscribe to the ideology of worship of money, you will certainly work against freedom and in support of Nigeria. Because Nigeria will come with these things. That's the foundation upon which Nigeria is built, where you worship individuals, where you worship man-made stuff, where you reverence money. You see, anything that deviates from the worship of God, the belief in God, the belief in autonomy given to man by God, the belief in free will, the belief in that independence which God has blessed each with, independent thought process. Once you deviate from that, you are energizing Nigeria. Okay, and once you do that, you go into gambling. Start gambling with days. I know when Biafra would come, you give a number of days, the days will vanish, and you start giving more days. You say, you go from days to, oh, it's gonna be this year. It's no longer days, it's now this year. You go into all sorts of stupid. You start sounding like a little confused child. Okay, you start, oh yeah, watch what is going to happen before November. Obi will stop the campaign, and Obi finishes the campaign. Oh, okay, you see what we have on the ground. There'll be no election. Where we will see it by what on the day of election. There we see nothing anywhere, let alone on the ground. Election took place. So you see, once you have subscribed to money, once you've allowed the devil to enter you, because the subscription to money and the subscription to worship of anything other than God opens the door for the devil to come in, you start sounding like a child. You start, in fact, you lose who you are, and you won't even know you are making a caricature of yourself. And you're embarrassing decent Biafrans. You're putting everybody to shame. You're prolonging the days of Nnamdi Kanu in detention. You are putting his life at risk, because these are things you can't even begin to imagine, let alone understand. You're making a mockery of everything. And suddenly you begin to consider, you see the level of madness and paranoia and grandiosity, where a man now begins that is in charge to decide who is a Biafran and who is not, to the extent of sacking people from, you are sacked today, you are suspended tomorrow. Yes. And in fact, some of you were given 2 weeks, and by the time you talk for 2 weeks, by the time you talk for 2 weeks, you're finished. I mean, can you imagine the level of stupidity, the level of grandiosity, the level of imbecilic behavior? This is shocking to my bones. Look at a little child talking rubbish. And
can I give you an information?
Go ahead.
I want us to talk about the psychology of Biafrans in this whole issue. It is a very, very important area to deal with.
That is the question I'm trying to ask.
Thank you.
That's the question I'm asking.
I'm happy to talk about that psychology.
Yeah, because we have a serious problem here. You know,
a very serious problem.
You know, the main problem here. That's why I'm looking at the Nigeria side and the people side.
What is the serious problem? I want to hear it. What is it?
Yeah, we have a serious problem here because our people have been built mentally to accept their chains, and they have been programmed emotionally to guard the chains. And it has become a serious problem that even when you bring the program of freedom, they want to embrace the one who is fighting for them to remain in chains. Now, Pastor, before we go on that first, I want us to answer this question from Canon View, you know, so that because he says it's a question, it's Canon View Media. Since he said it's a question, I want us to look at it first, because I don't know, the reason why people are talking about Finland is because Simon is in Finland. So Finland is not significant to the freedom of Biafra. Finland cannot give us Biafra. That's the truth. But because he's there, people are talking about Finland. So yesterday, of course, we know that Finland joined NATO. And the question here is, Kelechi, do you think Finland, that officially joined NATO, that UK is its founding member, would work in the interest of Biafra, considering that UK is now an ally. Now, before we go to the psychology of Biafrans, if we can touch this question,
Yes. Listen, there are implications there. The only problem, all these things too, is also tied with the psychology of Biafrans. But let's look at the Finland joining NATO. Now, NATO has been there all this while, that we suffered all these things from the hands of the Fulanese. Either by approaching individual nations that make up NATO or powerful nations that are strong, advocates or players in NATO that have done nothing. For example, when America was approached, they said it is not their priority. Do you understand me? The Biafran issue. And the reason why America could say that is because there's a lot of British influence in America's diplomacy towards Nigeria. I hope you understand that. So if that be the case, if America, for all her strength, could not be swayed into buying the idea of dealing with the Biafran issue as Nigeria has put us into, what do you think Finland can do? Either in isolation or now in league with NATO, because they will only work according to the dictates of NATO. And probably part of the conditions given to them before they could join NATO was this: there are certain no-go areas which you should not get into, because NATO is aware of the problems Biafrans are facing in Nigeria. So Finland, as a nation in isolation, can't give us Biafra. If we look at America could not do anything in Vietnam, America could not do anything in Cuba, America couldn't do anything in Biafra. And when they were approached, they said it wasn't their priority. Why? For certain reasons, which Britain has a lot of influence to do. Gas, oil. America cannot supply Britain liquid gas because it will be very expensive to put it in their ships and bring it into Britain and sell it at a cheap price. It's not possible. Where they get cheap gas at little or no cost is in Nigeria. All they need to do is to ship it, bring it into their country and use it. That's one. So America couldn't influentially come to the aid of Biafra. When they asked him, they said it's not a priority. So Finland cannot, they don't have the capacity financially. Now, if Finland decided to join NATO to be a world force to reckon with, they cannot operate in isolation in issues that borders on Biafra and Nigeria without clearance from NATO. And Britain is a key player. America is a key player. So what you are jubilating over, it is that psychology I'm talking about. Inability to look at things and process them critically in your mind before talking. Oh, they have joined NATO. Oh, we are going to get Biafra tomorrow. That is nonsense. Because they couldn't do it in isolation. Now they are coming, they are going to work according to the rules of engagement. There are those who were on board before they came. They cannot just jump the barrier and begin to railroad America and Britain to begin to superimpose. That's one angle. Number two angle is that if perchance they are hoping on them, there must be a basis where they can stand to start doing operating with their forces. That means, first of all, they would have gotten clearance from NATO. They are going to land their forces at a particular area where they can take off to start defending the Biafra land. They don't have that. They don't have it in Gabon. They don't have it in Equatorial Guinea. They don't have it in Cameroon. Do you understand me? So where are they going to hang? Are they going to hang in the air? And of course, they must get clearance from NATO before they can come into a foreign territory where Britain has interest, France has interest, to come and start acting. And besides, they are not a world power. So they must work according to the rules of the game by those who have been there on board before they did come. Now that they are assuming, so where are they going to stand? What is the basis? It's going to cost a lot of money.
In fact, they were moving contrary to the policies and dictates of
Britain. Not if they do, it won't work.
They will not have been accepted into NATO.
Exactly, because before they went, that's what I said earlier, before they went, they would have told them these are the rules. If you are going to join us in NATO, you are going to work according to, we have been in this thing before you came on board. And that's how we've been functioning. So you cannot function on your own. So they are only entering NATO to, one, to become relevant, and number two, for some protection because of Russia. It is not necessarily for Biafra. It is for their own personal interest. And if they are going to talk about Biafra, they will look at their military, their capacity to finance projects financially. To execute a war in a foreign land is not an easy thing. Go and ask the Americans what it costs them to maintain their bases in different states. It costs them a lot. And then to recover, there must be some American products that you have to buy. Maybe it have to cost you money here, you have to pay this, you have to do that. So when are they going to stand against Nigeria? They don't even have a stronghold in Biafra land. We cannot say today that we have a no-fly zone in Port Harcourt or in Aba, where we already have ammunition on ground that is capable of bringing down Nigerian Air Force. Or we have an Air Force team that is there, maybe a Tomahawk missile, or maybe we have a Tucano plane jet fighters that are already on ground. In case of anything, they can take off. So as these people are coming, we create a safe zone for them to fly and bring their jets into our airspace, land in our land. Or maybe we have a seaport where they can operate from Bakassi Peninsula, or from Cameroon, or from Equatorial Guinea, or from Gabon, or from Congo. We don't have such things. So where is the basis of from Central African Republic? There is none. So are you going to fly and then hang in the air? You have to refuel the planes. You have to pay for the pilots. You have to fly personnel. They have to land somewhere and be protected. And that will be their base before they take off. You have to obtain permission from NATO so that you can violate Nigerian airspace without the government of Nigeria shooting down your plane. Do you understand me?
Very well.
So when you sit down and begin to imagine, oh, we are going to get this, we are going to get this. If you talk, they say you are against this person, you are against this person. Where is the basis in which you are going to get what you are going to get? Like Prince was saying some time ago, 150 days was counted. 4 days before that time, commanders were complaining. We don't have anything. No money, no food, we are in disarray, no ammo. And when that time came and passed, and Nigerian government watched and saw that nothing happened, they stopped taking us serious. They understand that we're just not.
Around 50 days made Nigeria government see us as unserious people.
Not
in the news right now, they don't even care about whatever thing we say anymore.
So going into analysis and trying to find out where China Sanwo-Olu has made mistake or that, it doesn't bring about Biafra. China Sanwo-Olu is not important. Forget about him. We don't want to listen. We have seen all their wickedness. They are rubbish and wicked people. So what is on ground? For heaven's sake, if you are going to engage Nigeria, don't come out and tell them we are collaborating with other nations to give us ammunition to engage you militarily. You already opening your flanks. They are becoming aware. I mean, if you want to do something, keep quiet. Do your underground work and take Nigeria by surprise. Even Americans use element of surprise in beating Libya. When they were going to attack Libya, 4 minutes to bombing Gaddafi's place, they informed Russia so that Russia cannot intercept. They told them 4 minutes before they arrived. That's how element of surprise for all their military might. As America was approaching Libya, 4 minutes to the time, so that Russia will not say they disrespected them. And that 4 minutes before they started bombing Tripoli, they informed Russia. Before Russia will go down and bring up their plane, rise up and they would have blown like this. Element of surprise. The Entebbe raid was an element of surprise.
Of course.
So you don't just give when people are so delusional that they just tell them, hey, we're going to give it to you. They start cursing this person that this person is making mistake. You say, oh, he's going to give it to us. How? A general must have a team on ground. He's working with them. And the team they're talking, you're already telling the whole world you have a team on ground. Yes. You're going to make them militarily. So there's no amount of secrets in you. And when you say it doesn't make sense. The whole thing sounds there's a problem there. There's a problem.
Prince, how stupid have we been all this while? Because we were part of promoting those.
Yes, of course. I have to confess.
No, I disagree. I don't think, personally, I don't think yeah. Let me be very frank with you. I don't think we were. You see, for me, you just think about it. We were working earnestly, okay, in the department that we were told we can perform. Don't forget, we were drafting the Constitution, and we were trying to help in areas of diplomacy in terms of writing a letter to UN or whatever else. Personally, I wasn't involved with Simon Eba. I listened to his broadcasts. I listened to what he has to say, and I think he came to the group about 2 times. The third one was when we summoned him because we've noticed something is going terribly wrong. Now, I heard him when he spoke about Obi not going beyond November. For me, when Obi carried on into December, I had a query mark over him. But you see, I am one who would not criticize somebody just because they have made a mistake once. I want to see it tallying with other things. So I was on the lookout. In fact, when I queried the movement severely was when I made my usual ordinary broadcast about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the things that he had always said when people were going contrary by going to become obedient and all the rest. And I was trying to remind them what Nnamdi Kanu said about us being deceived by 2013 presidency and nonsense. And I think we were in a meeting together, and when Pastor said that Azuka said that Nnamdi Kanu has spoken, that Azuka was very convincing, that she said she had an insider, that was from Nnamdi Kanu, that in fact that he has posted what Nnamdi Kanu said on his wall. You know how quick
she gave me the info. Remember, I told you.
Facebook. We all rushed to
you
Facebook.
know how quick. You know how quick I went to
Yes,
Pastor's there.
yes.
And then all I saw was the written version, version of my broadcast without my broadcast.
Yes, yes.
I quickly rushed back to the group to say, if that is what it is, no, it's not. It's me. I was paraphrasing what Nnamdi Kanu said. I was trying to remind the faithful who are derailed to remember what Onyendu said to them. It was me. Now, that was the day my spirit deflected. That was the day I can tell you I became an insider, because that gave me an inside view of the conditioning of the mind of Azuka. I immediately knew what were propelling that ideology of I have an insider. I am sure it is Nnamdi Kanu speaking. It's only I understood the psychology of that woman. From that day, of course, that was how I ended up, because she took my number from Pastor, and then I ended up speaking to her. And as I spoke to her, I had to play along with her, and she told me how she's in my jog, and I listened into her. The more I heard from her, the more I knew we are in trouble. I knew we are in real trouble. It was from then I began to play along, but I'm playing along and I'm thinking, we are in a mess.
You know, if I might give you that information, because it was me she sent it to, right?
Yeah.
And you know, she said that there is a contact, a king or a traditional ruler, that tells her the correct thing, is on ground, that has contact with Onyendu. And so she gave me that information.
Child.
And that message. So I now notified you guys that this is a wonderful. As a matter of fact, when the message came to Simon himself, he said, let us take it that Onyendu has spoken.
Hi.
So that was what she said. And when Simon was notified.
Yeah.
Now, when she came back, and I told her, the information you gave me is not right. That the person who wrote this is not from the king, which you said. This guy says the one. She now said she wanted to talk with you. I gave her your number. So you see, these are lies. The impression is that I have first-hand information with a king who has
psychology. That's the psychology. She wanted to tell even you and Simon that she's in the lead, that she knows more than you know. That she's
exactly. a king who has access to Onyendu. And he said, you know, the impression was that I know more than you guys know.
I know what I'm the one leading this. I'm the one.
Incidentally, the message which you gave to me happened to come from you. Who, the moment you saw it, you came to the platform. In fact, when you told us, I was surprised. I was asking, in fact, I was a little bit flustered by it. And I was asking you how come.
Pastor, interestingly, when you were telling us about a message from Onyendu, I've already seen a message on from Prince that morning, because he sent it to us and all of that and posted it on Facebook. And so when you told us that Onyendu have sent a message, wow, it was so wow. It was, I think, one of our ETTG meetings, you know.
Yes.
So, yes. So that evening,
I was very impressed.
Yeah, that's Sunday. It was a Sunday evening. And so I rushed to Facebook, and I looked at it, and I saw the same message. And when Prince now came to, when you now told us that you have already posted it on your platform, you have sent it to us, and I went to my Facebook and WhatsApp and saw it. I was shocked, because this was when I read it that morning, I knew it was, you know, a kind of giving us a reminder of what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has said. It's never, I just knew that Prince was trying to refresh our minds, you know, like when in scripture, when somebody will say that I am the Lord that healed thee, or somebody says that I gave my life for you. And just one particular song that we sing, a hymn, that says, I gave my life for you, my precious blood I shed, that I might ransom thee and quicken from the grave. I've given my life for you, given to me. So it's like, you know, they call it, I've forgotten what they call it in literature. You know, it's called, I've forgotten the name. You know, oh my God, I'm trying to remember the name. It's like you are trying to stand in the place of that person, speaking as, that was how the message. So when you now said it's from Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I was shocked.
Let me tell you,
I'm sorry, sir. That is the level of deception. That's why when you said we're all deceived, I didn't want to extricate myself from it. Prince he has his reason. Yeah. I have to be very truthful. The point is, at the early stage, we bought the idea because the guy came analyzing things and he was making sense. But, you know, along the line, there is something. Everything has faces. That's why I want us to discuss the psychology of the Biafrans. I want them to understand. Everything has faces. You know, if you have a wrong concept in life, if what you believe or what you think or what you see, that is how it should be till the end. You don't, you know, allow room for maybe things might change. So that they said if you change the beat of the music, you change the dance steps. Now, at the early stage of this struggle, it was needful for him to come and take this thing away from the DOS, who failed. It was evident DOS failed. So we needed somebody that we could look onto. God raised him up. Okay, there's no doubt about it. And we gave him all the backing, and it was making sense. The only way you can get this thing out of DOS and win the support of Biafrans is by exposing the mistakes of DOS and providing a way forward. So when he did that, we saw their mistakes. And of course, they had mistakes. They were liars. They were criminals. They made a lot of mistakes. Now, compromisers. He provided a way forward. Now we began to go, but it came to a stage where there must be a change. Now, this thing is like a race where you pass baton from one stage to the other. The problem we have with our people is they just have this conception that it started from here, it must continue and end up with that same person.
Until they all perish.
Yeah, until they all perish. Onyendu came. We all, you know, we don't have the capacity to process things and then read situations and know what to do. When Onyendu came, he started. Even me, all our hope was Onyendu will just lead us straight there directly and we'll take it. But along the line, God changed the pattern. He allowed him to be kidnapped but not to be killed, so as to expose DOS. Now, DOS failed in rising up to the occasion, and Simon came in. Now, we also have this conception that all of us, that Samuel is the guy that will give it to us. But along the line, God began to show us, no, I run this thing in phases. It has come to a point where you no longer look at one person as the point man. You know, in Onyendu's case, he was the only person that had brains to think. All others were just following. They couldn't talk. They couldn't reason. Onyendu was the one that was doing the analysis, everything. Then, when Simon came, he had people who were backing him up so that he was able to achieve what Onyendu couldn't do in years. He did it in 1 year plus because he had backers. But at those backers, he was still like a maximum ruler, like the spokesperson. It came to the next stage where it needed people to bring ideas. we are beginning to see.
Pastor, I want to ask you, what did he do that Onyendu couldn't do?
No. What I'm saying is to remove the DOS and give Biafra a direction that there is hope.
Okay.
The DOS sabotaged Onyendu all the years. He kept walking, they were setting him back.
Yeah.
He kept walking, they were setting him back. So he was the only man that had understanding. But when Simon came, he had people that were backing him up. So we gave Biafrans a direction. Not that we reached our promised land. He gave them a direction. He was able to, within that 1 year period, a 1 year something period, gather Biafrans together to start donating money, which they found difficult to do during the Chinas and Warus period. Because during their period, they were divided into different groups, committees, regions, coordinators, and stuff like that. Monies were paid in mandatorily as sworn members. But in autopilot, they were not sworn members. The people were giving money out of their own volition. So he was able to do that. And it was because, one, we stood with him, we discussed with him, and it was not only him that was talking. There were autopilot media team that was talking, you were talking, I was talking, Prince were talking, a whole lot of people were talking. And Biafrans were beginning to see that this thing was being achieved. So it is not directed to him alone as having outdone Onyendu. No, it was that because of collective effort, we did a lot. Now, it came to a stage where it was no longer going to go further than that. Because the whole attention, as he was building it, was on him, no longer on Onyendu. And people's eyes were there. God wanted people to realize now that, okay, for you to enter the promised land, God told Aaron, Moses, I'm going to appoint 70 elders that will work with you. I'll take from your spirit and spread among them. So the modalities of entering the promised land starts with local government, how you judge cases, leave it to this elder. You prepare the minds of the people that as we're going to enter the promised land, these people are going to help in running your administration. So when that time came, things began to change. The changes were people with ideas started coming and things that were wrong were identified. Now, if he had understanding, it would have been the time for him to gather them and say, okay, that is true. And let us begin to place this, do this, work according to this. We are making mistake. Let's fix it. This shouldn't be, this how it should be. But he refused because he feels that the battle must continue from him till the end. And in the process, he collapsed. Almost all the structures that Onyendu built, he started fighting against them like the DOS did, invariably. Because he was working at variance with the laid down procedure and principle. Because in this thing, it's a transfer of baton. Now, that baton this time is not on any particular individual. No, it's a diversification of ideas. Because while we were working with him, we had different groups. Like the think tank were doing their own. The recruitment team were doing their own. Do you understand me? The fundraising team were doing their own. Do you understand? The media were doing their own. So there was diversity of responsibilities. And as time was, we're going towards that level where it will no longer be on one man. It is preparing the people into entering the kingdom. Therefore, there was need for accountability to start coming in. There was a need to start looking at the way God is handling issues and the people is raising up so that collectively we work. He didn't buy it. So when you come with an idea that is good, he sees you as a threat. And therefore, the next thing is he takes you out and calls you a saboteur. That was what happened to Papa Ejima, and that's what happened to us.
He will call you a saboteur without evidence.
Without evidence. That's what happened to Ifi. When they were asking for accountability, it was in preparation of entering the promised land. Biafrans were now to be carried along to understand where we are coming from, where we are going. This is not something about one person. It's about God leading his people, all of us as stakeholders.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you summarized it because in the end, all these things had to happen for us to get into Biafra. Now, exactly. Pastor Livingston, do you remember the intensity, the chaos, once we got that information that it wasn't Onyendu that spoke? Because Simon was about to go live.
Yes.
And we were now trying to go.
Thank you. He was about to go live to declare it. He was informed on time.
We are now trying to go and stop him from doing that. But let me tell you, Let me tell you,
Yes.
that day,
Thank you for
that day I went home. I was frozen for a long while. These were my thoughts. I thought to myself, if this is a company that I own, just a company, not even a nation business, I will immediately sack Azuka. Immediately, I will sack her. That day, a lot played in my mind to let me know that Simon's hands have been soiled. Because if Simon was walking in the truth and he was an honest man for Biafra, that day he would have sacked Azuka. That day.
Yes.
That day.
Yes. Yes.
Because if you understand the implication, if you have an understanding of the implication of what Azuka did there, this is not somebody that should be in any place called leadership, let alone in Biafra land. That was the height of deception, the height of thuggery, the height of, I mean, everything that is vile in leadership. That was it. This woman easily would have derailed the ship. Do you know what it meant?
Yes.
No, do you know what that means? That means we have been lying to Biafra all this while.
All this while, yeah.
We've been lying. We are claiming things that are untrue. And it's coming from perhaps somebody who sees themselves as the second in command.
Exactly.
Now, in fact, if you don't understand the implications, then in fact, that from that day, I put a query mark not only on Azuka.
You told me.
I put it on Simon too. I told you that.
You told me that day.
But I carried on observing them. When Kelechi came with that information about the currency, that day I concluded that now we know
Exactly.
we know we are done.
Yes.
This can no longer run. These guys they become a cancer in this whole equation. And do you remember that I ended up calling Azuka to ask her how much she knew of Ngozi Orabueze?
Yes, yes.
She didn't know I came to ask her because I wanted to hear more lies from her. She didn't know I knew Ngozi Orabueze before she got to know Ngozi Orabueze.
He didn't know her. She didn't know her.
She didn't. When she told me that Ngozi was a medical doctor, when I knew that Ngozi is a nurse. I know that in America here, once you become what do you call a prescriber, nursing prescriber, you go by the title doctor. But she wasn't a medical doctor. Okay. Yeah. Once she told me that Ngozi was a medical doctor, Ngozi, that she knows Ngozi, oh, everything is all right. Then I knew I was done. I was done. I was done. I was done. And of course, as soon as you raise that issue of telling Simon that there is no way his head will be on our currency, with the head of
that was my sin.
He went ballistic, but you didn't know. He went mad. You know, do you know that was the reason why he classified all of us as being envious and jealous?
I help you out there. Let me say something. You see, look, maybe we'll talk this thing now. You know, that issue, there was a game plan, Prince. The game plan was this. That is why we are talking about the psychology of Biafrans. It's very, very important. This thing we are discussing. The game plan was this. There was a calculation that the election would take place and end up before the 150 days expires. So the understanding was, in the midst of chaos,
yes,
that was the permutations were these. If Tinubu wins, the North may not like it. The Igbos will not accept, because a lot of people voted for P2B, and there'll be chaos and confusion in the country.
That was the calculation.
In the course of that breakdown of law and order, people will divide and Biafra will come. That confirms I know the day Biafra will come.
Yeah.
Give that 150 days. Say maybe the thing ends 10 days, maybe at the 143rd or 140th day after the election. 10 days after, there would have been a problem.
That's the gambling. The gambling.
The gamble. Now, the gamble also was this. A lot of things were being put in place that, number two, If Biafra comes, I can do anything, and Biafrans wouldn't mind what I did. They would look at the victory I've given to them.
That's right.
And one of those things were the implantation of their faces, because they were looking forward to Biafra coming, and to place themselves as heroes in the hearts of Biafra. What other place would that be more permanent than in our currency? Yeah. And so the way they divided it, they were to put Ojukwu Effiong, Onyendu, Simon, Asoka, Ngozi, and Oge. Now, when that time comes, and the intention was that the following day, right, Kelechi? I think the following day, they were to have a meeting with Simon the following day, right? When Victor called you and said you should give the graphic details, right?
Yes, the advisory board was supposed to have a meeting. I was supposed to be in that meeting.
With him the following day. Yeah, so the intention was, Kelechi, do this graphic work and then submit to us. We already have the money. Remember, they had changed it from Biafran pounds to Biafran dollars.
Sure.
Now, nobody was consulted. It was something they decided, which Onyendu had earlier on said it wasn't going to be like that. He has to consult with Biafrans. So the intention was, at getting this at the 150th, yes, we are doing the analysis. Getting it at the 150th day. Now, if the intended currency is being printed and their faces, the following day when he has meeting with them, he will approve it. Then they'll go into printing. And of course, who will finance it? It is Ngozi and Oge, who brings much money. Right. So when they finance the printing of that currency, that will be a lasting legacy forever. Now, the moment Biafra comes, in the midst of that chaos and confusion which they hoped in, they introduce the currency as a form of a promissory note or a currency to help us during that crisis to have our own money and permanently or squarely getting Biafra. When Onyendu comes out in the process, they present Onyendu to Biafrans. They present Biafra to Onyendu. So this thing about currency wouldn't be a problem, because Onyendu's face is also in the currency. And these are the people that worked very hard and paid the price, according to Victor, for them to appear. Now, if Onyendu, for any reason, comes out to begin to ask, why did you put these people's names in our currency? Biafrans will ask Onyendu, what is your problem? This man came and brought you out of detention and gave you Biafra. Is it not their names? They worked hard. They're entitled to it. At that stage, if Onyendu insists, there's going to be a division. Those who are in support of Simon and his group will now rise up against Onyendu and say, no, if not this man, he wouldn't have. Listen, it was the build-up also was part of the build-up was, remember there was an audio that said, a voice was purported to have been sent by Onyendu from detention that everybody should protect Simon, that they should forget about him, that as far as Simon is there, he's secured. Now, that was a build-up, projecting the minds of the people to begin to see him and see him as the guy, So if Onyendu had come up with Biafra manifesting with that current, Onyendu talking, they will tell him, Mazi, you're ungrateful. That DOS whom you appointed failed you. If not for this man, you would have been in detention and died there. Biafra would. Why are you? What is money? Let their faces be in the currency.
Correct.
You understand? So that was the game plan. And if it had worked that way today, assuming Onyendu was out, some Biafrans will rise up and tell Onyendu, look, let me tell you, even at the level he was going, some of us were even thinking that we hope Onyendu will not come and stand against him because of his pride. But when we saw the handwriting on the wall that no, he was not sincere as because he began to build up a plan. His image was being laundered by that tape, that voice tape that came out. And then this practical program. So at the end of the day, if Onyendu will speak, people will tell Onyendu, you're ungrateful. And for that reason, we don't want you. He's the man we are following. And Onyendu will just be relegated to the background. So Kelechi became a very big, I'm telling you up to today, they are rebuking Victor for giving that information to Kelechi. Because the moment we summoned him to the platform, I asked him a question, are you aware of this? The first answer he gave me was, no, he's not aware. Right. Remember? That is not aware. Now, when we began to talk, he said, anyway, I'm aware. Then, no, the first thing he said was, before he said he was aware, was,
it's true.
He was rebuking Kelechi. Why did you carry out
Yes.
a discussion from another platform into this platform.
Yeah.
And was now preparing himself to deal with Kelechi. We told him no.
He was ready for it.
Yeah, we told him no, that Kelechi did a good job.
Yes.
That these guys were planning something. Then he now said, anyway, I was aware of the thing, that we discussed something like that. But anyway, I'm going to talk with these people. That it's like the way they did this thing, he didn't like it, that he's going to talk to them in language they understand, and was insisting on rebuking Kelechi. And Kelechi was making him to understand. Listen, there's a secret. Someone did not know that there's something called G5.
Very well.
He thought it was the advisory council. These things are recorded.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Was it recorded that day?
Of course, yes.
Because I don't record things, you know. It's there for my head. I don't get time to go to the record. Once I talk with you, I carry them for head. So when that thing happened, Kelechi, he said it was the advisory council. Why did you take the information, what was discussed in the advisory council, into this platform? Kelechi told him no, it was not the advisory council. It was the G5, right?
Yes.
And he asked you, which G5?
Which G5?
So even at the hierarchy of his administration, he did not know that a group has been formed called Simon he was unaware of it. So it was a platform that made him to come into that knowledge that day.
That day. But the platform he created and he participated is the one he's now claiming he doesn't know.
No, I'm coming. That's the funny thing. Say he didn't know that there was G5. Now, when that happened,
Biafrans
our sister wanted to explain something to him. He turned around and began to harass her with careless words, which pained, because this woman loves him so much and prays for him. So I called his attention and said, don't abuse her. He now said, okay, anyway, I'm sorry. What do you have to say? But then the woman was already upset. She couldn't say anything.
Yeah.
Now she said she was going to talk with them and get back to us. When he went to talk to them, the next thing was Kelechi was removed. Kelechi came and told me that I've removed it. I told Kelechi, don't worry. Let it be. That is your price you pay for being a good Biafra. So Kelechi, as the whistleblower, sinned for revealing to me that they are going to put their faces on the Biafran currency. And my sin was telling him that I asked him a question. Where is Akan Ibiam to put your face on the currency? That the only reason why we can put Onyendu's face is because it's like he has died twice. If you remember, I told him that day.
I remember that very well.
And he has paid the price. But I told him that if I know Onyendu very well,
he himself wouldn't take it.
He will tell you so. Then why would you put your face a lot of Azuk and Gozo Rabweze and okay? That was my sin. That was the sin of this platform. Finished.
That was it. That
Kelechi saw the truth, ran and came and told us. They removed him from the platform. It was Imam Adrabu and Co that removed Kelechi.
Not just that platform, not just the platform. They removed me from the Oduduwa Biafra Alliance.
Oduduwa Biafra Alliance. He was removed. Yes. So this is being vindictive. They had a program, and he was complicit. It was a program they planned to hijack the whole process. We refused, and that is Ngosi's game plan. Remember, Ngosi wanted us to introduce.
Let me remind you. Interestingly, it is the same Ngozi that is the suspect, the Nigeria agent, that removed me from the Oduduwa Biafra Alliance.
Okay,
to remove me.
And Biafrans are not asking questions. They are there telling you, Kelechi, you're wicked. Why are you against Simon? It's like they're so. What is wrong with their mind? That's what I'm saying. The psychology of Biafra. What is wrong with them?
Let me summarize the psychology so we know. I've spoken a lot about the conditioning of the human mind. And because by right, a human being cannot be conditioned. Okay? But in your being state, you can be conditioned. And once you subscribe to being conditioned, you become a byproduct of your conditioning. It's as simple as that. That means you have to go according to the things. For example, if like a dog, you are now put on a leash and tied to a pole. When you try to go, the pole pulls you back. Go, pull you back. Go, pull you back. Go, pull you back. As a dog in that mode, you now know that each time you get up, you are pulled back. Even if the person that tied you now went and released that, you will remain there because you know in your mind, you've been conditioned to believe that you're tied. So even if the thing have been taken off. Because of the number of times you've tried to go and they push you back, you are now conditioned to believe that you are held down.
Look, to support you, there was a Russian scientist who did this experiment in a fish tank, in an aquarium, small aquarium. Now, he put a fish in the aquarium and then put a transparent glass in the middle of the aquarium. So whenever the fish comes to the middle, he jumps that glass and goes back. So the scientist left it for about 5 days. Then on the 6th day, in the night, when there was no light, he quietly went and removed that glass from there and began to observe the fish. He realized that whenever the fish comes at that particular place where that glass is supposed to be, the mind has been fixated. It will stop there and turn back. It doesn't cross it. It doesn't know it's been removed. That's the problem with Biafrans.
So that is what is at play. And I need you to see also a bigger picture here.
Okay.
Apart from that conditioning of the mind, there is also the practical and physical practical conditioning that goes on. For example, the one that they have used money to do. Don't forget that Ngozi Oraboeze had come with her group.
Yes.
Azoka has her group. Simon has his group. And the Nigerian agents are involved. Mm-hmm. So these are people who are worshiping what money can offer. These are people who are worshiping and following individuals. These are people who would come across as frustrating to you and I if we don't understand where they are coming from. These are people that no matter what you say, they will never buy into it because they are being fed by the evil. They are the devil. So they will fight and die for the devil. These are people whom you can't ever think that anything you say will change them. Because as far as they are concerned, this project Nigeria is feeding them. And they are being fed from their manipulations and their gambling. So you can't change their minds. So their minds are not there to be changed because this is what they are benefiting from. You could be getting frustrated and thinking, oh my God, these people are conditioned. They can't hear us. They can't do this. But it's not about hearing you. It's not about the contents of your truth, the contents of the information.
Yes.
It's more of the fact that this is the source by which they are feeding, and this is the source they believe in. This is what they know, that if you get Biafra, this source will stop. They will no longer get what they are getting. So they are just fighting you on the principle of lies, on the principle of deceit, on the principle of gambling. So don't go expecting or thinking, oh, these are Biafrans that are conditioned so badly. No, their conditioning is different. It's more of a practical thing. They are benefiting from lying. Practical things they are benefiting from gambling. Practical things they are getting from being worshiping fellow human beings. So I just wanted us to appreciate the numerous versions of conditioning at play here. So we don't go getting frustrated thinking some of the people that are condemning you have got duplicate names, fake names, okay? Linked to the same person. Some of the people that are, so you got to know how they play. So what I do now is whenever they rear their heads, I block them. But you can't, those ones you can't change because they are feeding from the evil. They are the ones that, they are as good as Fulani. In fact, they are worse than Fulani.
And the funny thing in it is that these people you are talking of, I agree. Because that mindset is not healthy. If he is depending on, you remember, he's no longer talking about God this time. He's not talking about 100 men. Because 100 men was all about God. Because there's nothing 100 men can do on their own power. It's all about God. That it has gone from 100 to 1,000. Whether the 1,000 is still existing, they said they were giving account. I don't know if they were giving account every 2 months.
That's not true. In fact, that's one of the things I wanted to debunk today. There was no account given. Recently, they had a meeting last month, February, and they demanded for accounts. In fact, one of our comrades demanded for accounts, and they messed him up that day when he asked for it. they messed him up, including the Azubike and all of that. They messed him up.
Don't forget that we must share the message of hope here.
And you remember, yes, we will. We will.
2 hours.
We will come there.
Yes.
Okay, we'll come there. And that account thing, one other place where I want you to highlight is there was a place where Azuka was being asked a question live. And I think it was Sonia Parawa that shot that person up.
That was in February, just February. That's what I'm talking about.
So now, when you talk about fallen angels being referred to us, who now is the fallen angel? Because we're expected to have closed this thing by 2 weeks. After that, we're still moving on because we are saying the truth. We are saying the truth because we stood against Ngozi, who was hell-bent on introducing LGBTQ in our constitution.
And abortion. And
abortion in our constitution. We told her, no, it's not going to work. So this whole thing, what makes me worry is, listen, Prince, I agree with what you're saying, but there are certain people, listen, who don't receive money from them, but their mindset is a problem because it's like, let me tell you, if somebody hates you for no reason, he hates you for no reason. No matter what happens, you find it difficult to like you. If somebody loves you for no reason, he loves you for no reason. No matter what you do, he will not agree. There are people who are sold on to him. They don't want to listen. No matter, even if Jesus Christ comes from heaven and talks, now they will not listen to him. And quite all right, he's not applying God. There is no faith. Where is he going? Nowhere. I have people who are very intelligent people, educated people, who, although I don't see them too much involved in him like before, but they were sold on to the idea, hook, line, and sinker. And I was asking myself, are you not educated? Can't you make evaluations? Look at what is on ground. We are taking something. Do you understand me? But you just see them being carried away like, are they sleeping? Are they in a dream? This is not faith. This is foolishness. Because he's not operating in faith. Somebody who tells you, and is there, he's drinking alcohol, in the place where that surrounds him behind, whether, I don't know whether it's a shrine or a church or a museum.
It's a complete shrine. These are people who don't understand. He doesn't understand that the worship of God should only be done in 2 ways, in truth and in spirit. So we can fix things. He's always going there to light up his candle. I don't know what the candle is doing. Just rubbish.
He has no relationship with God. He has no relationship. So the thing is, what God is doing, I want to make Biafrans understand. It's not about us. It's not us that is changing the narrative. No, it is God. If God did not tell Victor to tell you, you wouldn't have known.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the point. That's what I want Biafrans to know. Because I wouldn't have known anything. You wouldn't have known. Nobody would have known. I would have suddenly found ourselves inside somewhere we never anticipated in life. So it was Victor is a man of God that called you and said, Kelechi, please do graphic details or illustration of this thing. We already have concluded a new currency for Biafra, and do the graphic. So God made that man to speak that. Up to today, they should be regretting it. Now, by telling you, they suggested to you that your face too might be put in there. Imagine Kelechi being a currency. I will never use that money. And they told you and you refused. Now, at refusing, you came and told me. Now, by telling me I summoned him, that truncated that program. He was offended with you for blowing the whistle. Why did you carry something from this platform to another one? Because taking it, and he knows taking it to me, Emeka Leviso will not buy that. And also, the people that I work with in the platform are very forthright people. They will not buy that. So, if Biafrans will understand, this is of God. It's not about us. And God knows that if we are followed that way, we don't get Biafra. The way that we follow to get Biafra is the way that God wants, not the way they think he's telling them.
Now, let's talk about the way that God wants.
Now,
yes. Yes. Yes.
Before you do, though, please, I still want Pastor to, because he said the right thing when he said that there are people in the struggle who are not being influenced by the money or anything, but they're just blind. But then it seems to me that he forgot that there are people who are conditioned to be intellectuals. So it doesn't matter. It It doesn't matter. Don't forget that anybody who is carrying the symptoms of Nigeria in them cannot be an intellectual. They are opposite of intellectualism.
I agree.
Yes,
I agree.
They are opposite of intellectualism.
So, who proposed that theory? Is it you or Kelechi? Who proposed that theory?
I think we worked it out in this platform.
In our textbook in future, we are going to put it in.
I think in the end, Kelechi came up with the catchphrase when we were analyzing the intellectuals and the intellectuals.
So either you are an intellectual or you're a Nigerian.
Yes. So the opposite of Nigeria is intellectualism.
Yes.
So that's where the batch of those individuals are coming from. Okay. Now, and I hope that you're going to be giving us now a message of hope for Biafrans. So they will understand that these combinations had to play out before Biafra will come, before God will elect the chosen people to go and get Biafra.
Yes, I will. But I want you to understand that in this movement, it is not a one-man thing.
No.
Their contributions come from all of us, from a different dimension. It is not focused on one man knowing everything. No. And that's why we enter into this dimension that will help us achieve what we are. Where Biafra is, from God's angle and from a collective responsibility of the people. We have hope for Biafra.
Yes.
First of all, the hope for Biafra is this. We must come to the point where Nnamdi Kanu left us before he was kidnapped. He said that you cannot get Biafra with lies and deceit. You must depend on God, the truth. That's what he said. Number two, Nnamdi Kanu said that during this period, it is not your physical strength or your money or ammunition. No. It's your mental strength. That means faith in God. So that's the first thing. And if God will be the basis in which we work, then we should be honest, transparent. We will not superimpose ourselves on anybody. It will be a collective duty and responsibility. That's number one. We must hook up to God first. He's the only one that can give us Biafra. No person, not you nor myself, nobody.
No.
Number one. Number two, teamwork. Collective teamwork. To build a company, it needs different brains. You have manager, resource manager, you have personnel manager, you have general manager, you have production manager. No, be so. You have transport manager. All of them pool their resources together to be on the table to make the company function. Then, number three, we have a program plan. So, but I want to talk from the perspective as a pastor. There are things I know. I'll have to allow that person to speak because it is not a one-man show. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
No, it's not. We have understanding. It's not presenting one face. No.
Yeah.
We are committed people to work for the Biafran cause. So as everybody makes his contribution, we're going to work as a team. Number three, teamwork. Everybody must be a stakeholder. Know what is on ground, how we are moving. The next step, what we are going to do to operate, coordinate our activities, and give ourselves a project and a time, hoping that God will see us through. Then number four, we have to be accountable. Accountability does not only limit itself on finance. No, in your official duty.
That's right.
If you are going to make an announcement, be sure you be accountable to that announcement. Don't give a false information or false hope, like Azuka gave concerning the broadcast from Onyendu, which it turned out to be Prince that said it. Do you understand me? So we have to be accountable. Whatever we are doing, we must have facts on ground. Then number five, we must pursue the goal that we are going to get Biafra. We are going to carry out a strategy that is not known to the enemy.
Very well.
Coming out to talk, blah, blah, blah on the platform and trying to impress you doesn't make sense. We have to plan very, very well. Now, there are other areas which I want to allow you to.
Number six, focusing on getting Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Those 6 points that I had in mind, I Number 6, not that is the 6th thing. It could be the first, no, it could be the 2nd thing after going to God.
Yes.
This number 6. The first one is God. Every other one you can rearrange, turn them.
Yes.
Anyone can come second, third. Number 6 is bringing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu out. And that will be a collective decision of our people to speak with one voice, pursue one agenda vigorously, simultaneously, and even in sequence, as the case may be. But the direction is that we must bring Nnamdi Kanu out hale and hearty. And in the process, our comments will make the Nigerian people know that this man in detention, we are very serious. If anything should happen with him, we're not going to burn Nigeria down. We're going to burn down Niger Republic where they made investments, because the burning down will extend beyond Nigeria to Niger Republic. I'm telling you the truth, it will be a war of attrition. But we don't hope for that. But that's what we're saying, because the people are made to understand that they are angry. They want their leader out. We want a referendum where there will be peace, or allow us to go. Don't harm our leader. It will be very, very disastrous. We don't want to cause any mayhem or damage. We want, because maybe tomorrow we may have relationship with the Northerners that want diplomatic ties. If they need some kind of technological help, we'll go into an agreement under certain conditions by which we can send our experts to go and teach them 1 or 2 things in their nation and then come back. You understand me? So I want peace to reign. But these are the 6 things Onyendu must come out. Thank you. I allow my colleagues to say what they want to say.
So
Thank
Prince,
you.
let's hear you.
Thank you so much, Pastor. Before I say what I want to say, I want to remind Nigerians, I want to remind Fulanese, I want to remind the British of one thing. Nnamdi Kanu has said many things that have come through. I want them to know that he also told them that he's prepared to sacrifice anything sacrificable. That even if they chose to kill him, that Biafra will come quicker. They need to be very careful with Nnamdi Kanu. They just need to be very careful. They don't know how angry we are. They need to be very, very careful. They cannot be fooled by anything Simon is doing or anything anybody else is doing or saying. If any harm should come to that man, I don't think they would have Nigeria again to celebrate. They won't, because they will send people into madness. They need to be very, very, they need to know that. So I wanted to start with that. Then I want to also now, in terms of making sure that people know that that Biafra is God's own project, to know that the leader in this project is God Almighty,
Amen,
who has destined Biafra to come. It's a season for freedom, and there will be nothing called humanity without Biafra. Humanity will continue to lose its meaning and mean nothing until Biafra comes into play.
Right.
And people need to understand that. And that's why, look, the level of truth that is already out there makes it impossible for Biafra not to come. The truth is already out. You can't put it back. It's like the gene. You can't put it back into the bottle. It's already out. So let me tell my fellow Biafrans and the entire citizens of this world, especially those with good conscience, that God has shaped our hearts into action. First of all, to humble ourselves before Him and before humanity, to know that this is not our battle, but His own battle. But we are going to be used as tools to achieve the outcome of this. That whatever work we are going to do and whatever thing we say will be sacrificial. It's a sacrifice. That we are not embarking on any long-term project, that the project is very simple. Free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, get Biafra. Those are the projects. and they are sacrificial. Now, we are not out for any position in Biafra land. That we are not out for any, we don't need anybody to celebrate us. We're only paying our little quota. That the people that paid the ultimate price have paid with their blood. That all we are doing is just our own part. And we are not doing it for any long-term praise or long-term positions. That if people are going to get any position in Biafra, that will come through the sacrifice, the level of work, their dedication through this process of actualizing the freedom of Biafrans. So I will invite anybody who is looking forward to holding any position in Biafra land to come and show their commitment, to come and display their talent, to come and show their professionalism, their tenacity, their focus, their discipline, their truthfulness, their transparency in this process. Because perhaps that is what Biafrans will look at and say, we want you to carry on in this role, or we want you to come and do this for us because of what you did that helped to achieve Biafra. Because I tell you something, anybody who is in this Biafra struggle with the intention to occupy any position, anybody who is in pursuit of one thing or the other, anybody who is not entirely honest and transparent in their approach, sorry, you're not gonna, it won't be through you that God will work. It won't work. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your total time. It won't happen. Shame will occupy you and your generations to come because you went into it in the wrong footing. The name of the game right now is to go and do whatever it takes, say whatever it takes to get Biafra and free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. When Biafra comes, everybody will subject themselves to Biafra and Biafran people who would now decide how Biafra is going to be run and what happens in Biafra. Those things must be secondary. Right now, you are asked to act. Go and act. Claim what you want to claim, but you're acting. Do what you believe you can do, but you are acting. Say what you want to say, but you are only acting to get Biafra, to free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. After that, you submit yourself to Biafra and Biafran people. Let Biafra, Biafran people, and Biafra constitution dictate what happened next. On that note, and in that spirit, I say, all hail Biafra. All hail Biafra. All hail Biafra. To the glory of Chukwu Okike and the blessing of mankind. I thank you.
Kelechi, before you come in, I just want to make one comment.
Okay.
Biafrans, on the table, there's something we want to bring on the table. We are drawing up programs on how we shall move forward. We are working every day to bring up something that will be all-inclusive. Every Biafran will participate. There are basically two things that are on focus in this Biafran struggle now. It is the men on ground and financing them. But we have gone beyond that. We are also trying to run something which will make our resources to be available so as to help Biafrans and also set the templates when Biafra come where funds can be collected to start development of Biafra from the get-go. And that will involve you and I. It is not the dreary long time of fundraising. You spend 5, 6, 8 hours. This person giving 500, 100, 200, 1,000. No. We are trying to run a strategic way of doing things whereby, yeah.
Please, can I give you information?
Okay.
I'm looking at the time, and we are almost 2.5 hours into it.
Okay.
I would suggest, it's only a suggestion for you to consider. I would suggest that when it comes to the plan that we are building up, that we will come one day, and that will be the program. And that will be the program.
Okay.
Okay. So that people, because many people will not watch this thing to the duration. It's coming towards the end, and many people will not catch this message. Let's go and plan and come back with this whole plan being the subject matter for the day.
I buy that.
So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we actually
That's
supposed to have a press. We're supposed to have a press brief for this particular.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay. Okay.
So definitely. But we want Biafrans to know that there is something massive going on
in the office.
There is that God is working.
God is working powerfully in our lives.
Yes. That God will continue to raise people until God chooses those people that will go and get Biafra to His glory, to His glory alone. Yeah.
Amen. So I agree with you. We have to put it. So Kelechi, over to you, please.
Yes. So that's it. We just want to let Biafrans know some things are going on. You know, the structures have been laid and they have been strengthened so that you also can find yourself being part of it significantly in the way you can. Now, it has gone past the level of glorifying somebody. We are no more in that aspect of glorifying.
Beyond that. Yeah,
because we don't understand that all power and the glory is to God. As much as Mazin and become positioned by God to speak to us and to give us that structure which He has given, and He has made us understand that the name of the Lord and God Himself is the only reason why Biafra is going to come. That is why He starts His program telling you about Chukwu Okike and ends it telling you about it. So that is where Mazin and Bikanu was moving us. That was why the teachings were coming to make us understand all of this.
Exactly.
But we missed it. We started glorifying man or man, and God is bringing us back to that position of doing the right thing. So that is where we are, and you will get to hear from us how we are going to be moving. The structure is being laid strongly. I can tell you, Biafrans, you will see how God will bring Biafra through what is being organized right now and very quickly. And Kelechi, have you noticed that Simon now plays more often than usual? That is what happens when people lose their spirit. And the short audio when Nnamdi Kanu commended him is sign of fear of declining and credibility. Yes, when people lose it, just like what Saul was doing, when he saw that he has lost it, he went to consult a medium, a seer, so it is part of that. So when we see these people dancing around, they have already lost it. But the accountability group will give Biafrans the roadmap very soon. So watch out and expect. We'll keep talking to you, sensitizing you, and giving you every information you need and every knowledge you need to move on. We want to assure you that the restoration of Biafra is going to come by all of us working together. And that is why the structure is being set to accommodate you and I, and we've been part of this. Thank you so much for everyone.
Please, Kelechi, you failed to read that. Malachi, Nathaniel says, instead of this, he said this, illiterate. These are jokers. We're waiting for the plan.
Yeah,
these are jokers. Emma, before you close, there's one problem, Prince. We will have to correct in Biafra. We have to go back to school. Emma, there, T-H-E-R-E. A lot of Biafrans spell it there. It's there, T-H-E-I-R. Their pronunciation affects their capacity to write. It's a problem. So we need to go back to school in Biafra. Please, we'll do that.
Very well.
Total reorientation of the Biafra.
Well, I can tell you that the teaching is so huge that we are going to orientate even the British, let alone Biafrans, who are so damaged by Nigerian system.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of work to do.
A lot of work.
But don't worry, God is in control of all these. We'll be fine. Yes.
Kunonview says, Kunonview says, Kelechi, remind ahead of on Twitter that the press brief. Of course, we're going to come with a formal announcement as soon as we are ready for the press briefing to give you the details of what we're doing.
And all again, the various departments and their functionality. Yes. Everything will be told to people.
Yes. And please remember, we want to tell Biafrans to every Sunday, 4 p.m. Biafra time, we have our Twitter space where you come and ask your questions, your critical questions. Everything you want to ask, come on Sunday, 4 p.m. Biafra time. We're going to be on Twitter space. All you need to do, just check Kelechi Ambrose there. We're all going to be there. And you just join us and just watch out. You will see what God will do through us. And that is what God is about to do and as he has set us here to do. So prepare yourself because you're part of what God is going to do and use you to do also for Biafra. It is all about us working together.
Us Biafrans, us. It's our nation.
And your role.
And finally, I hope that everybody understands that the idea of looking up to our religious leaders, our politicians, our business people to rescue us
is over.
It's not there. We have to do it ourselves.
Exactly.
They might choose to come on board later, but we're going to start the process ourselves. Sure. It is our duty to liberate ourselves from them. From them. They're the ones holding us down.
And you know, I want to remind us also something. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said, I will not disappoint you, but you will disappoint me. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was not talking to a specific people. He was talking to everybody, which means he was expecting everybody to be part of this work, which means your work will determine if you are going to disappoint him. So he was talking to everybody. He was not specific on anybody. He was talking to everybody. So when he says you will disappoint him, it simply means that what you do now is an act of either disappointing him or supporting him. So that means everybody is part of this.
All of us. Nobody owns Biafra more than the other.
Yes.
No. Your contribution is as good as mine. Mine is as good as yours. Nobody has a right to ban you, suspend you out of Biafra.
Correct.
Or excommunicate you. No, you can't tell a man from Cameroon you are no longer a Cameroonian.
We are going to make sure every Biafran feels that they are, and every Biafran is a stakeholder to Biafra. That is what we are doing to show. Yes.
If you hurt one Biafran, you have hurt all Biafrans.
That's right.
If one Biafran is crying, all of us are crying.
That's right.
Enough of this nonsense. Let's bring some integrity, decency to ourselves. When you hear Nnamdi Kanu lament, we must come out of this arere. Enough of this nonsense. Enough of the nonsense. It's an absolute nonsense.
Enough. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prince. Thank you so much, Pastor Emeka. Thank you so much. For those of you who are still asking if I'm a Ghanaian, keep asking. Keep asking, eh? You see, I'm going to do begin to ask if I'm
the lunatics must serve their purpose.
Yes, that's their purpose. They are serving their purpose. Keep asking. You you're coming to ask a Biafran whether he's you are a comedian. Go and
I'm driving now, so we might have some interruptions.
Right,
I'm driving now. We might have some interruptions.
We're going off right now. So God bless you. Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate you. We'll come your way again and we'll let you know. Thank you all.